What is up, crew? Welcome to Seek the Edge podcast with me, Kelsey Lensman, where our mission, our goal is to challenge you outside of your comfort zone so you can tap into and step into the God-given potential inside. And we are back in the studio. If you watched last week's video, I was at my home office. Captain came and gave a nice little hello right in the middle of the podcast. But we're back in the studio. I'm just grateful to be able to shoot here with Sycamore. We have Soph behind the camera as well. And I am really excited going into 2026 because I'm usually not a word of the year girl. But for some reason, last year, the word that kept coming up was stewardship. Like, am I stewarding the things that are already in my life really well instead of just continuously wanting more and more and more? That can be relationships, that can be finances, that can be business. And for some reason this year, the word that keeps coming up over and over is intentional. And how I'm taking that into this year is, am I being intentional with the habits that I have in my life? Am I being intentional with the people that are in my life? And as we talk about who we're becoming in 2026 last podcast, and as many people are thinking about goals and what goals am I chasing? What am I putting on my calendar? What oftentimes missed is the how. We have the what. What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? But what gets lost is the how. Now, how do I actually take steps forward to accomplish that goal? And so you might be listening to this right now. You have the goal. That might be become the fittest version of you this year. That might be write the book. That might be start the business. You have the vision on who you want to become. You might even feel the nudge from the man upstairs to pursue that thing. But like I said, now is a really important switch that you have in your mind of not the what, but the how. And this is where I talk about being goal focused versus process focused. There's many different types of goals that you set, but a goal focused goal, meaning an outcome focused goal, that is that thing that is objective that you want to do. It might be, like I said, lose 20 pounds. It might be start the business. It might be record that podcast for the first time. But what many people get lost in, and what I like to transition people to, is actually the process. You have the goal. Let's still keep that in the forefront of our brain. But now what is the system that we implement that is going to get us to that goal without us having to even focus on it? And an example that I like to use because it hits so viscerally to me is actually a decent years back. It's 2026. This was 2018. So this was a hot second ago. Is I had the big goal of stepping on a bodybuilding stage. It was a goal that scared me. It was a goal that I didn't think was possible at that moment, but it was a goal that I knew that I wanted to pursue. I had the nudge of me inside, but I also had the how am I going to do this inside. And so what I did that moment is I hired a coach. I started fueling my body. I was in the process of it. But there is one specific day where I went to the gym. I was sitting on the outside of it after I was done training, and I just sat down feeling defeated. I sat down feeling like I had so far to go to get to that stage. I had so far to go. How am I ever going to get there? All of those thought loops and all of those doubts were in my brain at that moment. And I had somebody sit next to me. And they're like, Kelsey, what's going on? I said, I feel like I'm never going to get there. I feel like I can't get there. I feel like I'm never going to get there. And they said these words that forever now stick with me and is now how I operate. And they said, Kels, the problem that you're having right now is not in what you're doing. It's that you're being so goal focused. You're being so focused on the outcome that you're getting lost in the process of it. And they said, when you focus solely on leaning into the process and leaning into the system and winning your day, what you're going to realize is as those days stack up and as that process is leaned into and is completed, you're going to realize you're going to get there without even having to hyper-focus and think about it. And so that day, I shifted my focus. Instead of it being, oh, I'm going to step on stage in 6 months, it was, how am I going to win today? How am I fueling my body today? Am I hitting my water goal today? Where are my steps at? Did I train intentionally? Did I push my hard today? And when I made that shift in my brain from not being this goal-focused outcome to focusing on how am I going to win today, what actually happened is I got to that goal and I became somebody I didn't even know existed within me, but not because I focus on it. It's because I focus on how am I going to win solely today with that. And so the difference of goal focus, like I said, that goal focus is that outcome. Yes, goals are powerful. We talk about them. We need vision. We talked about that in the last podcast, the whole verse where there's no vision, people will perish. That is real. We want to have that vision for where we're headed because it'll allow us to continue moving us in the right direction. But when I solely focus on that end result and I stare at it, that's where overwhelm can set in. That's where discouragement can set in. That's where doubt can set in. How am I ever going to get there? I see myself or I feel where I'm at today. It feels so far in the future ahead of me. And so let's reel ourselves back in and let's focus on being process focused. And when I'm being process focused, I'm focused on the how. For somebody that achieves that goal, what do they need to do today to get there? How do I need to show up today? What are the systems that support that? When I say systems, I mean routines. What are the routines? What are the rhythms? What are the day-to-day things that I get to do that are going to get me there? And what actions do I need to repeat even when motivation is down? Today, when I went to train, motivation was not there. But I did it not because I was so excited to go train, but it was because it was a part of my routine. I wake up like I normally wake up at that specific time. I do my little journal. I do my Bible study. And then I go train. Because it was a part of my process and because it was a part of my routine, I didn't waver if I was going to go train. If I didn't have that process and I didn't have that routine and I didn't have that schedule for me, I'd be like, oh, I'll just push it off till later. Or I could just do it tomorrow. But because now I'm focused not on the what, but on the how, it allows me to really be consistent and allow myself to rely on that consistency and that schedule, even when that motivation fades. And as many of you know, yes, with XYL, we have the events and we do the lifting and we have some, actually, side note, we're hiking Yellowstone this year, which I'm so excited about. And we have a lot of different events that's focused on challenging women outside of their physical comfort zone. Because when you commit to a goal and you challenge yourself to that goal, man, you break a belief of what's possible. But also on the other side of our business is we have a coaching program, and that is focused on helping women get to the best physical and mental and spiritual, whatever shape that they want to get into, getting them the fittest that they can in the way towards their goals that they have. And so we work with a lot of women that their desire is to get stronger, or their desire is to improve their body composition and lean out, or their desire is to heal hormonally. And so we set those intentions, we set those goals at the forefront, but the women that do the best in the program shift from focusing on that outcome to allow themselves to shift to, am I training 4 times a week? Am I hitting my 8 to 10K steps a day? Am I hitting my protein goal? And as soon as I see a woman shift from, hey, how am I going to win today? I'm like, ooh, y'all better watch out. She is coming and she is going to surprise herself that the compounded wins over the next couple weeks and months are going to lead to another version of herself. And so what this might look like for you, what systems, what processes this might look like for you, is I want you to, at the top of your paper, if you're sitting down or you're at your phone, you can type this out. If you're driving, wait for a little bit, do this when you stop. But I want you to write the outcome that you desire, right? That might be deeper relationships, a fitter body, deeper in my faith. I want you to be clear on the outcome. And then now what I want you to do is, okay, how do I implement this in my week? Or how do I implement this in my day-to-day? If I want deeper relationships, then that means I might need to put it in my calendar to call my grandma every Friday after work. If I want deeper faith, that might mean I habit stack and I start my morning with a 10-minute little devotional before I go and work out. If I want to fuel my body better or just feel better internally, that might mean, you know what? I'm going to plan 10 minutes at the end of my night before I go into tomorrow. I'm already planning my food ahead, so it is ready. I'm not questioning it, and like I am ready to rock tomorrow. When we can shift and understand how that how is, that's when it becomes just a part of who you are. The things that I currently do now in my day-to-day, I meal prep on Sundays. I train consistently 4 to 5 to sometimes 6 times a week. I usually hit 8 to 10K steps. My water's pretty consistent. That's not always who I've been, but because these are habits that I've built out over and over again over the past years, now it's just who I am. It's just what I do. And so if you're at that starting point, like I was years back, and you're not consistent with those things yet, allow yourself to put it in your calendar here. When are we meal prepping? When are we focusing on our meal times that next day? And don't allow yourself to get discouraged on all of the details of it. Just pick one thing. And this is where we get to rely not on motivation, but the system. And that system is what carries that momentum. It's what carries that excitement with regards to it. And so we're going to make this podcast real short and sweet, because with this one, it doesn't need to be a long conversation. But what shift I want you to make is not what, but how. How do I implement this in my day-to-day or my week-to-week? How do I win the day? How do I accomplish that goal? Not by the goal that I'm setting, but the process that I'm leaning into. And then I'm leaning into trusting the process, but I'm leaning into working the process. And so don't focus on growth over that month, but focus on growth just as that day is completed. Okay? So I'm so excited to see the goals that you go after in 2026. It might be prepping up for one of our XYL events. It might be really focusing on pouring back into yourself and making yourself the best version of you this year. But once again, as we focus on those different intentions or different goals that we have, allow yourself to then reflect it. Where is it at in my calendar? How do I break that down to put it in here? Because when it's in here, then it's inevitable. Okay. Love you guys. If you have any questions about systems or goals or how to then implement this, reach out to us at Kelsey Lensman is my personal, at Expand Your Limits is our business one. And we would love to just encourage you along that process in setting those goals, but then make sure it's actionable in the systems that you set. Love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your week and keep crushing it.